you know, it can be incredibly frustrating to deal with clients who tell you that they are being forced to have an abortion against their will. You can give them all the right information, you can convince them that no one can legally force them to have an abortion, and you can offer to give them whatever support or services they need. But once they're back home and you're not there, none of that matters if they don't have the strength to stand up to the person who is forcing them. And the unfortunate reality is that very few of them do.
If you're trying to help one of these clients, you need to show her how to take control of the situation without having to directly confront the person who is intimidating her. And you can do that with the Life Dynamics Force Form. This is a document that spells out the client's intentions regarding her pregnancy and puts everyone involved on notice that if she is brought to a medical facility for an abortion, it will be against her will, and that she will not be in a position to either express or act upon her true wishes regarding her pregnancy. It also outlines what the legal ramifications could be for someone who performs an abortion on her after being informed of these circumstances. Your job is to complete this form on behalf of your client and have her sign it. You then send it to every abortion provider that she might be taken to, as well as every law enforcement agency with jurisdiction where she resides, and every law enforcement agency with jurisdiction where the abortion might be performed. A copy should also be sent to the legal counsel representing your center, and if your client is a minor, a copy should be sent to the closest office of your state's Department of Child Protective Services. What we know is that abortion providers are often willing to do an abortion on a woman, even if they are aware that she is being forced into it. But we also know that when they learn that other people, including some in law enforcement, have been notified about the situation, few, if any, are willing to take the legal risks associated with doing that abortion. And even if the client shows up at the clinic saying that she has changed her mind and now wants the abortion, the clinic staff is going to be reluctant to take a chance that she is only saying this because she was brought to the clinic by the person or persons who are forcing her to have the abortion. After all, she informed them of that possibility on the force form.
You can duplicate the success we've had with this project by following just a few simple guidelines. The first is that this form is not to be given to the client to fill out. Instead, after you've gone over it with her, if she wants to proceed, you fill it out, have her sign it, and give her a copy. Then, with the form completed and signed, you immediately begin the notification process through either fax or email. Once that's done, you make follow-up phone calls to confirm that the notices were received and passed on to the correct person. You also keep a written record of each call, including the names of the people you talked to, the date and time of the call, and any comments that were made to you. In some situations, you might decide that it would be more effective to hand-deliver the notices. In those cases, just be sure to keep the same kind of written records that you would have if you had made the notices by fax or email.
During this notification and follow-up process, it is imperative that you make the people you deal with understand that time is crucial and that this is not something they can put off for a few days. You will also have to make it perfectly clear to them that you're not going to be ignored and that you're not going to go away. Whether you are dealing with law enforcement, child protective services, the abortion clinic staff, or anyone else, if you sense that you are being blown off, ask to speak to that person's supervisor. If the supervisor also blows you off, ask to speak to his or her supervisor and keep going up the ladder until you reach someone who takes you seriously. If the person you are talking to refuses to pass you on to his or her supervisor, hang up and call back and talk to someone else. Ask for the supervisor's name and insist on talking to that person. The key here is persistence. And don't worry about stepping on toes or making people angry. Remember, you're not doing this to make new friends. You're doing it to save the life of a child and protect that child's mom. So at every stage of the process, you have to be willing to play hardball. And don't forget, always keep a written account of every contact you have.
You should also keep in mind that it is better to make too many notices than too few. For example, while it is advisable to ask your client where she thinks she will be taken for the abortion, you should not limit your notices to that one facility. We have had experiences where a client was refused service at the first clinic and was then immediately taken to a second and later a third. Just make certain that you cover all the bases, including any individual doctor's offices, outpatient clinics, or hospitals you have reason to believe might be doing abortions. Also ask your client about the possibility that she might be taken to another city for the procedure. If she says that could happen, make notifications in that area as well.
In the past, we have had counselors who decided to go to the media after getting no cooperation from the people they notified. In one case, when a reporter for a local television news show was approached, he called the city's attorney's office and began asking questions. Within the next few minutes, the same official from that office who had shown no interest when originally notified was suddenly on the phone to the pregnancy center asking for more information. The end result was that the abortion never happened. In another incident, a counselor was being snubbed by a hostile caseworker at the state's Department of Child Protective Services. So she drove to the office of this worker's supervisor and placed a running tape recorder on the desk between them. While she explained the situation, she also let it be known that she had already contacted the media and would be reporting back to them shortly. And again, that abortion never happened.
The point is, there will be times when you will get instant results from the force form, but there will be times when you have to become the squeaky wheel. And sometimes you have to squeak real loud. Just remember that if you do your job, most abortion providers are not going to do an abortion on a woman whose name they see on this document. If you are aggressive, you can make this woman radioactive and force the clinic to decide that she is not worth the trouble or the risk she represents. One interesting thing you should know about the situation is that most of these providers will never have to make a decision about whether they will or will not do this abortion anyway. That's because when your client shows this document to the person who is trying to make her have an abortion, our experience has been that the majority of them will back off. After all, it is one thing to intimidate a frightened young woman who's all alone. But everything changes when the situation becomes known by the people and agencies listed here. The main thing you need to keep in mind is that the people who are trying to force someone to have an abortion and the people who might perform that abortion have one important thing in common. They all desperately need for this to be done in secret. That is where their power comes from. But when you drag this situation out of the shadows and into the open, what you do is take that power away from them and give it to your client. That is what the Life Dynamics Force Form allows you to do, and it is yours to use for free. Simply download it online at forceform.info.